Aloha, everybody! Let's talk about Astro Bot. Because everybody is talking about Astro Bot. I gotta get my opinion in there. Hey, welcome to another QuickSave review with me, RC, and yes, Astro Bot. Guys, this is a must-play game. Do you like platformers? Do you like cute graphics? Do you let's just go this way. Do you like fun? Do you like to have fun? Do you like to have a smile on your face? If you don't like fun, and you're cynical, and you don't like to smile, then this is not the game for you. But if you have any shred of happiness left in your soul anywhere, this is a game to play, okay? I have not seen a game across the board in a while where I just feel like collectively across the internet, I have not seen much negative about this game. Everybody is like, this is a wonderful game, it's fun, it's cute, it's vibrant, I love it. This seems to be a consensus just across the board from players, critics, everything. And you don't see that too often with games. So I had to get in here and talk about it a bit because Astro Bot was a game I was looking forward to. I played Astro's Playroom on my PS5 when I got it because it was a pack-in title and loved that. It was a bit short, but it was still a ton of fun. In this game, man, it just took Astro's Playroom and times it by 50, and that's what you got here. You got an amazing 3D platformer with just an amazing feel of just like delight and fun and vibrance, and I can't speak about it more highly. You know what I mean? This is a game that, you know, comes around once in a while. You know, very much like, you know, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, they came out on the Switch, right? That game comes out, and across the board, you know, as a platformer, people adore it because it just is breaking conventions, you know, with platformers, and it's adding like a whole new way to play every single level. And Astro Bot is kind of doing that with the 3D platformer genre here. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not doing like a whole lot of new stuff. What it's doing is it's harkening back to the day when 3D platformers were king. You know, let's say like the PS2, GameCube, Xbox era, where 3D platformers were just everywhere. You know, even partially through the N64 era, right? But, you know, they weren't perfect. They were fine. And actually, you know, for a time there, like 3D platformers were my favorite genre. I liked the imperfectness of them, you know? Like, I liked trying to platform and you know, get through these challenges where the camera maybe wasn't so great. You know, and the control of the character maybe wasn't so great. But Astro Bot basically takes that formula here in 2024 and has made one of the most polished, delightful, amazing 3D platformers I have ever played. And I played damn near most of them that have come out, I think, across all the different platforms. And, you know, this is up there with Mario. This is something that people have already heard. But yeah, Astro Bot is up there with Mario. Sony finally has, like, you know, a platforming series that could contend with the Mario series. That is, of course, if they choose to capitalize on it and not, you know, close or lay off people from yet another studio, or decide to have Asobo now go forward and do a live service game. Who knows what they're going to plan after this? After Astro Bot has been, like, you know, player and critic acclaimed here across the board, really. Who knows what kind of decisions Sony will make. They'll be like, oh, we got a great studio here. Now let's have them do a live service game. I could just see it happening. Anyway, I digress. Because this is really about Astro Bot. So, for those of you who don't know much about Astro Bot, I mean, this is him. You play as a cute little blue and white robot. And you go through tons of different environments. You know, you're going to be hitting summertime, like you see in this video here. You're going to be hitting wintertime. You're going to be hitting space. You're going to be hitting spooky levels with ghosts. You're going to go across the universe and do tons of different things, all in the name of collecting PlayStation stuff. Like, are you a big fan of PlayStation? Do you like PlayStation history and characters and everything like that? Then I think you'll enjoy this. Now, me personally, I wouldn't say that I'm the biggest PlayStation fan. Like, I actually missed out on PlayStation, you know, PlayStation 1. I had an N64 back then. And my friends had a PlayStation, which I enjoyed when I went over their houses and everything. But I didn't have it at home, so I didn't have like this great nostalgic feel for a lot of the things that they were showing that were super old. You know, I played a bit of Crash Bandicoot, you know, a little bit of Spyro and stuff, but I just don't have that love for it that a lot of other people do. Now, what I do have love for, though, is anything PS2 and forward. You know, when they show Ratchet and Clank, Jak and Daxter, God of War, stuff like that, that's where I'm like, okay, now I'm in, right? But it's crazy because there is a lot of old PlayStation stuff that's in this game that is referred to that I don't actually, like, I either haven't played or don't have that much reverence for, you know? But all that aside, though, collecting it and finding it in these games and the references to it, like, kind of makes me wish that I was there and had a PlayStation when I was a kid instead of an N64, you know? Now, I'm not going to go that far. I loved my N64. Mario 64 alone is just, like, worth the console, right? But I just say, like, man, there were so many references to, you know, Metal Gear Solid and as I mentioned already, like, Crash. And, you know, there's just a lot of old stuff that's in here that I'm just like, that's so cool that it's in here. And I kind of wish that I had more reverence for it. But anyway, for those of you who do have that reverence, who are super into that kind of stuff, you're going to love it here. So for this video here, I'm not going to be showing much of the game because I don't want to spoil it for those of you who want to get in and enjoy it, those of you who haven't played it yet. I will tell you that, 6 minutes into the video, I'm sorry, I have already finished the game. I played through just about everything. Right now, I'm working on the very last trophy to platinum the game. Which is the final, like, super hard level that's in the game. And that it's interesting because the game itself is very easy. If you just want to trek through it, you know, if you're a younger gamer or someone who isn't very good at games, I think you'll still have a ton of fun with this game, just on the basis that the levels themselves are not that hard. However, throughout the game, they do add the option for you to play some more, like, secret, you know, levels that appear in the different galaxies. And when you play those are going to be a lot more challenging. So for those of you who kind of coasted through the main game, like I did, like I definitely coasted through. It was like, I had a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong. I wasn't sitting there like, this isn't hard. It sucks. I had a ton of fun through it. But then once they started adding the challenge, I was like, oh man, here we go. Right. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. There's one final master level you have to go through. And so far I've probably died on it a good 30 times, and I needed to take a little break because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong here. But you know how it is. You play a game for a while, for a few hours. Sometimes you just need to take a break, and then once you come back refreshed, you beat it on the first try, right? That's where I feel like I'm at. But I have loved this game so much. Like, within the week that it came out, I put in all the time I could with it, and it's the only game that I could think of. It's been a while since I played a game where I was just like, it's all I could think about, right? Typically with games, for me, they'll come out, and I'll have fun with them, you know, or I'll play with a friend and I think it's a good time. But it's really rare that I actually think about the game in my off time, like when I'm working and that kind of stuff, like where I'm actually sitting here like, man, it's the only game I can think of right now. And honestly, the last game that I had that with, I would say, was probably Super Mario Wonder last year, which I thought was a, pun intended, I guess, wonderful game. And this is right in there with it. Now, I will also say that, like, I'm biased. I love platformers, 2D and 3D. It's my favorite genre. So this, for me, is you know, I was already in. But to see how polished this game is, to see how much love went into this game, to see how much, you know, work and everything went into this game, I can't say anything bad about it. No, I'm just kidding. I have a couple actual qualms with it, but not much. For the most part, like, any issues you would have had with the 3D platform previously, those things are gone. Like, they made the environments open enough so that the camera is not an issue, so you're never going to run into that. You know, none of the challenges in the main game are hard enough that you're going to want to throw your controller in frustration. They prioritize fun over just about everything else in this game, okay? So, what I do want to point out, though, is that there are some issues with, we'll say, the motion control. That's really my biggest pet peeve in the game, is the motion control. Some of the motion control stuff in the game just works a little bit wonky. Like, I could call to one thing, which is there's a time where you're going to be putting Astro's spaceship back together, and when you're putting Astro's spaceship back together, you have these two hands that pop out, and you are, you know, basically using tools and that kind of thing to pop pieces back in. There was a time where you're supposed to be pounding these nails back into the machine, and for some odd reason, the controller was not registering me hitting the nails very well. So like every time the hammer would come down, it would kind of like tink the nail, and it wouldn't go anywhere. And I'm like, what am I doing wrong? And then the little tutorial pop-up would come up and say like, this is how you do it. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm hitting it. It took forever for these nails to go in, and I was like, I guarantee this isn't how this is supposed to be. There's something really off about it. I don't know what it was. And actually, with this video here that you're watching, I found the control of the little monkey hands here to be a little annoying at times as well. Not that it was like a huge turnoff or anything like that, not that it like put me off, but there were times where I'm just like, why is the hand not going up? What is going on, right? But really, at the end of the day, those are my biggest. That's probably my biggest gripe with the game, is some of the motion control stuff. And it's such a minor nitpick, honestly. I do have one other thing I'll talk about too. Like, you just saw us take out the pirate boss there. The bosses in this game are fun, but also, what's interesting is that the game itself is super, super simple for the most part. You know, you find some platforming challenges in some of the later levels and stuff, but for the most part, very simple, as I mentioned. But some of the boss battles, whether you're in level or if it's the world boss or whatever, the difficulty spike for those is pretty high, actually. I was surprised to see that when you're fighting a boss, just how difficult it was compared to just like cruising through like this pirate or beach level or something like that, right? When you're cruising through the level, looking for bots, looking for puzzle pieces, that kind of thing, it's super simple and fun, and it's just more about like platforming and puzzling your way through like where could these bots be. But then when you get to the boss, it's like, oh, like it's on, like it's happening now. And at times, it's very interesting to me how, like, you know, if a kid was playing this and they played through the first world, you know, and then got to the world boss, I feel like they would have a hard time with it. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know how much QA was done on the game or testing. Maybe I'm completely wrong. But there was definitely some boss stuff where I was just like, this seems really tough. Like, I feel like a little kid would breeze through the level, but then get to the boss and be like, you know, Dad, I need you to help, right? That brings me to actually another point here. Those were really the only gripes I have with the game, is like small difficulty spikes with the bosses and some of the motion control stuff. But I played a little bit of this with my 5-year-old son. He thinks Astro Bot is awesome. He thinks he's a great character, loves the worlds that Astro Bot is in, thinks it's a lot of fun. He actually has asked me several times this week. He'll just come down to where I game and he'll be like, hey, he's like, can we play some Astro Bot? Because he just wants to watch me like take out robots and, you know, wear the backpacks and everything like that. So he is just having an immense amount of fun like watching me play the game. He did play a little bit of it too. Sometimes, you know, I'll let him run around the crash site a bit, and he likes to run around and like punch the other bots. He likes he liked the underwater level. I forget what it was called, but there's a complete water level where you get I think it was a penguin backpack, and you kind of cruise around the water with it. And he loved that because he could just like swim around the water and check things out. The level also featured like a fish that would eat you. And he just over and over and over again, it was just like, have the fish eat you, have the fish eat you. And he thinks that's great. He even asked me this morning, believe it or not, he was like, can we play Astro Bot? He's like, and let's play the water level where the fish eats you. He just loves that part of it. So for a 5-year-old, like, I think the gameplay itself is a little advanced, a little too much. Controlling the camera and the character at the same time for a 5-year-old, bit too much. But watching me play, he had a lot of fun, and getting a chance every now and then to grab it and move the character around and just watch me get eaten by fish and that kind of thing. What was the other level he saw? He saw the genie level. There's a genie level where there's a level where you're sort of like in this like desert, you know, type setting, and when you're there, like you rub this lamp and this big evil genie comes out and it throws the level completely out of whack. And my son had seen me play through the spooky level. He loves the spooky stuff, but he even said that the genie level was way more scary because it took all of the pieces of the level and, you know, turned it upside down, so then you're using that as your platform to get up, and then you got to fight the genie. So he was actually really surprised by that, because it took, you know, it took him by surprise, or he saw it as completely unexpected, you know. Which, you know, it was pretty interesting, though. So he was talking about that one, actually, with my wife. He was like, it was really scary. But it wasn't scary in a way that he was like, you know, he didn't want anything to do with it. It was more like scary fun, if that makes sense. But anyway, all this to say, this is just like, a long rant about my experience with the game. The game is amazing. I recommend checking it out. For those of you who have a PC, there's been sort of like rumors and talk that it might come to PC at some point. And for those of you who don't have a PS5, I'm sorry, but this is definitely worth your time, man. I absolutely adored this game, and I think that anybody else who gets their hands on it will too. It's just like, it's nothing but smiles, delight, and fun, and silliness. Oh, and the last thing I do want to point out here about this game, though, is that it has amazing music. This level you're watching right here with this, like, tree guy, you're going to hear like kind of this tree funk song that's going on in the background. But my God, the very first level of the game that you play, they do a remix of the Astro Bot song, and it blew me away. It took me back to the days when I was a kid, and I played the original Sonic the Hedgehog games, like Sonic 1, Sonic 2, and the music in those games is just super good, right? It just like hits so hard. And today, they come out with Astro Bot, they do this remix, and it sounds like they took the Sonic formula of music in that song, and they, you know, because they have the voiceovers, and they have that funky bass that the Sega Genesis used to have, and man, it just, like, I had to put the controller down for a few minutes and just listen to the song. Like, it hit me that hard that I was just like... So, part of this game, I guess the enjoyment is the nostalgia, you know, the feeling of, like, I feel like I'm back playing on my GameCube or PS2 playing a 3D platformer, or I'm back as a kid because of this music, you know, playing old school Genesis games, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, despite the nostalgia, you know, kick or whatever, the game itself is untouchable. It's great. And man, the music just, oh, it's so good. So good. Anyway, guys, that's really all I wanted to say. Check out Astro Bot, play Astro Bot. The hype is real. It's so good. It's so fun. And hey, I'll see you all in the next one.